Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Anjaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Mishnapad Paramahansa Parajikacharya Ashtotar to the Sri Srimad Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parajikacharya Ashtotar to the Sri Srimad Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavani Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai. Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. All right, I didn't get my official book with the marker in it, but I think I know where we are pretty much. Yeah, we read that one. Okay. Yeah, we read that one. Okay. Page 441, text 19. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On this 11th day of January 2022 in San Diego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we are in chapter 10, the Opulence of the Absolute, text number 19 at the bottom of 441 of most of your books. Okay. Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Hantate Katayishyami Divya Yatma Vibhutayaha Pradhanyatah Kurushreshta Nastyanto Vistarasya Me. Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Hantate Katayishyami Divya Yatma Vibhutayaha Pradhanyata Kurushreshta Nastyanto Vistarasya Me. Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Hantate Katayishyami Divya Yatma Vibhutayaha Pradhanyata Kurushreshta Nastyanto Vistarasya Me. Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Hantate Katayishyami Divya Yatma Vibhutayaha Pradhanyata Kurushreshta Nastyanto Vistarasya Me. Go ahead, Rajan.
Shri Bhagavanu Vacha
Shri Bhagavanu Vacha
Hantate Katayishyami
Hantate Katayishyami
Divya Yatma Vibhutaya
Divya Yatma Vibhutayaha
Pradhanayantya
Ajanyata Kurushreshta
Nasyanto Visarastasya Me.
Nastyanto Vistarasya Me. Ross. Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Hantate Katayishyami Divya Yatma Vibhutayaha Pradhanyata Kurushreshta Nastyanto Vistarasya Me. Bin, you want to try? Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Hantate Katayishyami Divya Yatma Vibhutayaha Pradhanyata Kurushreshta Nastyanto Vistarasya Me. Pradhamano. Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Hantate Katayishyami Divya Yatma Vibhutayaha Pradhanyata Kurushreshta Nastyanto Vistarasya Me. Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Hantate Katayishyami Divya Yatma Vibhutayaha Pradhanyata Kurushreshta Nastyanto Vistarasya Me. The end. I don't think so. Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Hantate Katayishyami Divya Yatma Vibhutayaha Pradhanyata Kurushreshta Nastyanto Vistarasya Me. Not bad. Go ahead. Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Hantate Katayashyami Divyayatma Vibhuteyaha Pradhanyata Kuru Shrestha Nastyanto Vistarasya Me. Okay, word by word, Shri Bhagavanu Vacha, the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, Hanta, yes, te, unto you, Katayashyami, I shall speak, Divyaha, divine, he, certainly, Atma Vibhuteyaha, personal opulences, Pradhanyatak, which are principal, Kuru Shrestha, O best of the Kurus, Na asti, there is not, Antaha, limit, Vistarasya, to the extent, may, my. Translation, the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, yes, I will tell you of my splendorous manifestations, but only of those which are prominent, O Arjun, for my opulence is limitless. Purport. It is not possible to comprehend the greatness of Krishna and his opulences. The senses of the individual soul are limited and do not permit him to understand the totality of Krishna's affairs. Still, the devotees try to understand Krishna, but not on the principle that they will be able to understand Krishna fully at any specific time or in any state of life. Rather, the very topics of Krishna are so relishable that they appear to the devotees as nectar. Thus, the devotees enjoy them. In discussing Krishna's opulences and his diverse energies, the pure devotees take transcendental pleasure. Therefore, they want to hear and discuss them. Krishna knows that living entities do not understand the extent of his opulences. He therefore agrees to state only the principal manifestations of his different energies. The word pradhanyatak, principle, is very important because we can understand only a few of the principal details of the Supreme Lord, for his features are unlimited. It is not possible to understand them all. And vibhuti, as used in this verse, refers to the opulences by which he controls the whole manifestation. In the Amarakosh dictionary, it is stated that vibhuti indicates an exceptional opulence. The impersonalist or pantheist cannot understand the exceptional opulences of the Supreme Lord, nor the manifestations of his divine energies. Both in the material world and in the spiritual world, his energies are distributed in every variety of manifestation. Now Krishna is describing what can be directly perceived by the common man. Thus part of his variegated energy is described in this way. Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnanandana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara, the disciplic succession. So, as has been mentioned, although Arjuna accepted Krishna as the Supreme Person, and he famously said, Param Brahma, Param Dhamma, Pavitram Paramam Bhavan, Purusham Shashvatam Divyam Adi Devam Ajam Vibhum, which means, you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the ultimate abode, the purest, the absolute truth. You are the eternal, transcendental, original person, the unborn, the greatest. And then he says, and it's not just me saying it, but all the great rishis say it. Vyasadeva says it, Narada Muni, and so many others. So therefore I accept it. Next verse is, Sarvameta Mrita Manya Yangmang Vadasi. I accept as truth all that you say, O Krishna. And yet, in a few verses later, he asks Krishna to describe how one can perceive you within the glorious things of this world. Please describe some of your opulences. And it's clear from the purport that he's doing this for our sake, because we don't have the opportunity to be sitting 5 feet from Krishna on a chariot, seeing him directly. Of course, we can see the deity, and with purified vision, we can eventually see that's not different from Krishna. But in our present conditioned state, we need all the help we can get in order to perceive the divine reality that's all around us. The problem is that our vision is covered, so even though Krishna is within our heart, he's manifest outside through, in so many ways. The very air we breathe, what we're sitting on, all of these things are manifestations of Krishna's energy. But we can't see it because the reason why we're here in the material world is we didn't want to remember Krishna. We willfully forgot Krishna so we could try to act like him, we could try to imitate him. but it's been an abject failure. We're not Krishna, we're never going to be Krishna. But we can be reinstated in our natural position as servants of Krishna if we follow the principles of bhakti, the foremost of which is hearing, especially hearing the glories of the Lord. So Arjuna asked him, please describe to me your vibhutis. This is Vibhuti Yoga, that's the title of the chapter. And as described here, vibhutis means the chief opulences. Right? What does it say here? Okay, I forget. Exceptional opulence. Things which are especially powerful, amazing, striking, beautiful, like that. So he's going to begin to enumerate those, and we can look ahead a little bit. It's not giving away the plot. If at the end of this list, the end of the chapter, which comes in about 22 verses, he says, "What's the point? Whenever you see anything, I support this whole universe, this whole creation with a spark of my splendor." So the point is, whenever we see anything that's impressive in any way, we should think, "Oh, this is Krishna." Just like in the 7th chapter, he gave us, I was just listening to these lectures Prabhupada gave on that part of the 7th chapter, where Krishna begins, you may recall, Rasoham, Apsukonteya, Prabhashmi, Shashishuriro. This is not vibhutis. This is just everyday experiences. I am the taste of water. And Prabhupada says this apsu means not only water, but anything you drink. You can remember Krishna. I am that taste. Why? Because Krishna has created the water or whatever juice you may be drinking. He's also created your tongue. He's created your brain. So the whole experience of tasting is part of Krishna's opulence, part of his energy. Therefore, he's there. He's there. I am the light of the sun and the moon. So we see the sun all the time. Sometimes we see the moon. Whenever we see it, we should think, oh, this is Krishna's opulence. This is to help us remember. But the key element of being able to do that is not trying to exploit the material energy for our own sense gratification. Then Maya, the covering of Maya comes down. We want to forget Krishna, and he lets us forget him, which we've been doing for millions of births. But when we do that, we become victims of the material energy. In other words, then we become caught. Like this, you know what the word guna means. Guna means the quality, right? The three qualities, the three modes of nature, goodness, passion, ignorance. But what's another meaning, an important meaning of the word guna? Rope. You're bound up by the ropes of these material energy, of these modes of nature. We're bound hand and foot. How can we release ourselves? We can't. Someone who's unbound can release us. That's the realized soul. That's Srila Prabhupada. How to release us? Through instructions. The whole thing is in the mind. It's all our consciousness. It's the mind that is conditioned, that is binding us to this world. Krishna explains very nicely in the 15th chapter in the beginning the mechanism of transmigration. How do we go from one body to another? What determines which of the 8,400,000 species and millions of examples of them we actually enter into? It's the state of our consciousness, plus our karma. That's taken all into account by higher forces, by higher beings. What is that? Karmana daivanetana jantu dehopapatye striyapavishta udaram punsorita kanashriya. That daiva can refer to Krishna. It's the word divine, you can hear it. But actually it can mean the gods also. Just like we were reading about Dharmaraj, about Yamaraj in the morning class. He has the job of judging the sinful. He has his dutas, his representatives, Yamadutas, and they go and they arrest the sinner, drag him out of the body and bring him to Yamaraj for judgment. And in the end of the 5th canto, whoa, description of different hellish planets. Talk about fire and brimstone, you know. But the reaction of Purkit, hearing this was very interesting. He didn't think, oh boy, I'm glad I'm not going there. Please skip over and tell me about Krishna's Leela. No, he was very concerned about these souls. How can they be relieved of this punishment? How can their conscience be made right? In other words, there's atonement. And so the answer was, really, material atonement doesn't work? Because it doesn't uproot the desire to perform the sin. You may neutralize some of the reactions, that's good, but you still have the sinful desire and you do it again and again and again. So what is it? How can that desire be purified? And the answer is chanting the holy name. It's the story of a Jamil. A Jamil was a Paka, what we call Paka Brahmin. He was strict and everything. But when he was out in the forest collecting some wood for sacrifice, he saw what we see. You can see on your phone anytime you press the right buttons. Let's say the wrong buttons, and his pornography. He counted the scene, and he couldn't control his senses. And he rejected his chaste and beautiful wife. He forgot about his elderly parents who needed his attention. And he consorted with this prostitute a whole life, had so many children, and was stealing and cheating. And he really lost it. He was a good candidate for being dragged off to the Yamaraj. But he had one saving grace. He named his youngest son, who took birth when he was about 75, Narayan. There's a backstory that I didn't know about in other Puranas, that he was advised to do so by a great sage. And he remembered from his child that he was worshiping God, as a Brahmin. So, okay, Narayan. So what happens? You got this old man and this young boy, so he's completely in love with the child. He's always calling, Narayan, come sit on my lap. Narayan, don't go there. Narayan, 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 Narayan. So he was chanting the name of Narayan. He was chanting his son. But the name is so powerful that it eradicated all his sinful reactions. And when the final moment came and he's confronting these horrible-looking Yamadutas who are ready to pull him out of his body, he called out Narayan. Oh, Narayan, his little boy. And that immediately the Vishnu Dutas came and saved him. Stopped the Yamadutas. Okay, he's sinless. What do you mean he's sinless? And they recounted the whole lifetime, he did all this. No, you don't know the principle of religion. And this is why we can sit here. Because simply by chanting Hare Krishna, even inattentively, even, just as an experiment, whatever it is, somehow you're coming in contact with that name, and Krishna is so merciful, he's placed himself in the name. It's inconceivable. This is real vibhuti. There's a verse about the holy name. Nama Chintamani Krishnas, Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha, Purnak Shuddho Nityamukto Abhinatvan Nama Namino. That last line is completely inconceivable. Abhinatvan means there's no difference between the name and the named. In other words, Krishna is there in his holy name, as Lord Chaitanya says, Nam Namakari Bhavada Nija Sarva Shaktis Tatrapita. Nija Sarva Shakti means you've invested these names, Krishna, Madhava, Govinda, there's so many names, Narayan, with all your energies. And there's no hard and fast rules. We could be regular Kali Yugites. I guess most of us were, maybe not you. You were probably raised in a very nice Vaishnava family. Anyway, we're all Kali Yugites, and we need help. So Krishna has come as Lord Chaitanya, and he's given us this name, and he's explained the glories in his Shikshastika. I'm gonna do the Shikshastika before we end. I'm gonna watch the time really carefully, because the Shikshastika is said if you chant it every day, you can read the English, that's chanting it, then you're definitely moving day by day toward prema bhakti. Very nice. So the whole movement is based on this first verse of the Shikshastika. When I chant it, you'll see why. But the key element is you've invested your names, and there's no hard and fast rules for chanting. Anyone, anytime, anywhere can chant, even us, and get tremendous benefit. And if you remember, I'm actually associated with Krishna just by chanting this name. If you concentrate, the whole thing is how well you hear, how carefully you're hearing the name, and how sincerely you're chanting. There's a nice verse by Queen Kunti. There's some very great Vaishnavis. She's a very, very advanced devotee, intimate. She took the role of Krishna's aunt, aunt. You know what I mean? So in her prayers, after the battle has been fought, the battle is over, and they're going to take the throne, and Krishna is leaving. He's about to leave, and she comes out, and she wants him to stay, naturally, and she offers these prayers. And she talks about the chanting of the holy name, this one verse. Janmaishraya Shuddha Shiva Edamanam Adakpuman Naivar Hatti Vidhatam Vai Tvama Kinchana Gochara. So what's he saying there is that, my dear Lord, you're very easy to approach by the chanting of the holy name. But those who are too much intoxicated, too much absorbed in trying to accumulate the opulences of this world. Now, good birth, what do we know of good birth? But that's a big thing, to be born in a good family. Aishwarya, wealth, high education and beauty. These are, recognized as something really nice to have and keep. I'm getting old, oh my God, I got black spots. How can I get my beauty back? Spend millions of dollars. Silly. So, but if you're absorbed in trying to get that or preserve them, then you can address the Lord with deep feeling. He is the property of the propertyless. Those who are trying to accumulate wealth in this world, and it may be subtle wealth, fame, things like that. You can't pray to Krishna in great anxiety. Krishna, please save me. I'm so fallen. I'm helpless. I have no shelter but you. No, I have such a great shelter. I got my bank account. I have this. I have that. You can chant, but not from the heart. So that's why he's the property of the propertyless, akinchana gochara. Now you may have so many things, but if you reckon, this is Krishna's property, let me use it as far as possible for Krishna's service, then that's an exalted position. I was friends with Ambarish, the Ambarish Das, who you may know. He's, yeah. Back in the 80s, he was a resident of Miami, and I lived there. And the fact was that he was being a little bit standoffish from ISKCON because so many devotees were trying to, can you please help me to go to India, this and that, like that. So he had built a nice house, and we would visit him and do programs. I never asked him for a dime, so we always had a good relationship. But he's done a tremendous amount of service. He built this way before the TOVP, who he was, largely responsible for getting moving. Of course, there's a lot of other people, who are contributing to it. But he built this beautiful samadhi of Srila Prabhupada. Samadhi is like a memorial where Prabhupada's the garlands he was wearing when he left his body, physical body, those are buried there. Those are said to be sacred, and it becomes the Pushpa Samadhi. But a beautiful structure was erected on there, and devotees visited every morning and sing samsara prayers, some of them. So that was like $13 million, Yeah, and he just erected it. So that's the proper use of wealth, and so he's a Kinchana Gosha, even though he has so much facility. Anyway, the process now, we're going to start reading these verses of Krishna's telling us how we can see him in so many ways, is one of the first, there's a chapter in the second canto, the first step in God realization. And it talks about the universal form. This is another kind of thing, where you're saying, we're not just seeing the sun, this is the eye of the Lord, like in the Brahma Samhita. Yat chakshuresa sapitasakalaggrahanam. Everything ends with Govindam Adipurusam Tamaham Bhajami. We sing every morning, right? We're listening to it. It's the prayer of Brahma. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord. The eye, the sun is like the eye of the Lord. He sees everything. He's traveling, he's like that. And so the mountains, those are the bones. The rivers are his veins. You can see like that. So it's said right in the Bhagavatam. It's an imaginary form, but it can help us to begin to see the world in its real divine light, and that everything is ultimately Krishna. There is a verse spoken by Narada Muni where he says to Vyasadeva in the first canto, "Idam hi Vishwam Bhagavan ivetaraha." That's the first line. So he says, "Idam hi Vishwam Bhagavan." This universe is Vishnu. Because there's nothing but Vishnu in every atom as a super soul, and the energies of Vishnu. But it seems to be something else. It seems to be mundane, because we don't have the eyes to see. So this knowledge that we're getting here will help us to see Krishna in all the things that are beautiful or glorious. And there's a strong, naturally, he's speaking to Arjuna, part of the Vedic culture. So a lot of this is pertaining to that. Meaning that he'll refer to the greatest devotee, Prahlad Maharaj. And so many other things that relate directly to the culture. But some of the things like bodies of water on the ocean, we can relate easily to that, especially here. So we're going to read this now, text 20. Ahamatma Gudakesha Sarvabhutashayastitaha Ahamadishcha madhyamcha Bhutanam anta evacha. I am the super soul, O Arjun, seated in the hearts of all living entities. I am the beginning, the middle, and the end of all things. Purport. In this verse, Arjuna is addressed as Gudakesh, which means one who has conquered the darkness of sleep. For those who are sleeping in the darkness of ignorance, it is not possible to understand how the Supreme Personality of Godhead manifests himself in various ways in the material and spiritual worlds. Thus, this address by Krishna to Arjuna is significant. Because Arjuna is above such darkness, the personality of Godhead agrees to describe his various opulences. Krishna first informs Arjuna that he, Krishna, is the soul of the entire cosmic manifestation by dint of his primary expansion. Before the material creation, the Supreme Lord, by his plenary expansion, accepts the Purusha incarnation, and from him everything begins. He's referring to Mahavishnu, or Karanodakashayi Vishnu. Just one word, so you learn about this. Sometimes it becomes a little confusing. There's Karanodakashayi, Chirodakashayi, Garbhodakashayi. Udakashayi means laying in the ocean. Shai means reclining, and Udaka means ocean. And there's three different oceans there. One is the causal ocean, Karana Udaka. Karana means cause. So Karana Udakashai, he who's laying the causal ocean, that's the Mahavishnu. We have the nice painting in the corner there. He's the first Purusha incarnation, they're called. But then he expands. When it's time for creation, he glances at the material energy, the Mahatattva, and all of these universes start coming out of the pores of his body and out of his nostrils in small, miniature form. And they begin to expand. But then each one of them is a separate universe. So he expands further as Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. Garbha means fetus, actually. Fetus. So why? Because each universe is empty in the middle. But then it needs to be a sea upon which the Garbhodakashayi can rest. There's no water in there. From his body he creates the perspiration. He fills half of it up with water. That's the Garbha Udaka. And he's reclining. And then how does Brahma appear? You remember.
From his navel.
Yes, there's a big, well, not directly. There's a big lotus grows, and then the Brahma appears on the lotus. So Brahma is sometimes called Ajja because he doesn't get the regular birth. It's not that he's a son of Garbhodakashayi Vishnu and Lakshmi. No, he's born from this lotus. So then what happens? We're going to be reading now in the fourth canto, in the sixth canto, there's been a shift now. The Ajamil story is completely over, and now we're switching off to what happened with the Prachetas. This is a whole other thing I'm not going to get into right now. But the idea is that the big puzzle and the headache, or headaches for Brahma, he's got 4 heads, is how to populate the universe. So he begins from his own mind, which he has, that's all he got to work with. His own mind, he creates these and that. Then he gets some demons, they come after him. He says, oh, that's no good, I got to give up that. It's not a smooth transition. But finally, it gets going, and these Prachetas are going to be part of it to populate the universe over time. So, the idea is that Krishna is saying here, I am this Atma, I am the super soul so that all of these manifestations, they're expansions of Krishna. Now it's important to understand the wording. Prabhupada uses this phrase, plenary expansion. Now plenary means complete. So these Vishnu forms and all of the forms, Lord Ramchandra, Balaram, they're all expansions of Krishna. Divine expansions, and they have his powers, but they don't exhibit them all. Just like Matsya, he doesn't exhibit the full beauty of Krishna. He has different powers. He saves the Vedas and things like that. The Shringadev, the strength for sure. But again, not the beauty, the all attractive. He doesn't have a flute that he plays on. That's real rasabas, right? So the idea of these plenary expansions means they have all of his powers, but they don't exhibit them all. But they're still Vishnu. Just like the spiritual, the super soul in our heart, it's fully Krishna, but he has a certain role to play, giving us intelligence. Welcome, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. We are on page 443, and so Krishna is all pervading. through the supersoul. Every atom there's a manifestation of the supersoul, right? 4 hands standing there. So all of this is, just I am the soul. And then seated in the hearts of all living entities. I am the beginning, the middle, and the end of all beings. So all of this, he's existing in everything. And when we hear about all of these glories, we begin to be able to see him everywhere. We can say, all right, I'm walking on this day, and there's the sun. Well, that sun has been created by Krishna, and he said, "On the light of the sun and the moon," and that sun is the eye of the Lord. So, okay, there's a divine experience there. So it helps train the mind to see Krishna everywhere. Okay. Any questions, comments? Yes, Rajamandal. She's first, then you can go. First, go ahead. Yeah. It may not sound, but put it on because the YouTube people can hear it.
I've heard from different people a couple of different things about chanting. Some people put more emphasis on the mood, like the mood of when we chant. And some other people put more emphasis on the sound vibration of the listening to the name. Is there anything that we should strive for, one of those, or are they equally important?
Well, I think they're both important and they're not mutually exclusive. The focusing of the mind just on hearing is kind of a prerequisite, and it indicates that this full attention is inevitably part of yoga. And the more that attention you give to anything, even mundane, the more that you can apply your intelligence to it and make it come out to the best of your ability. So applying our attention to the sound of the holy name is the prerequisite. But we can also, at the same time, understand, this is inconceivable, but we know this is Krishna. This is Krishna has invested this with all his powers. If I just experience it in its fullness through my attention and careful chanting, then I'll begin to experience the actual spiritual nature of the holy name. It's so powerful that even if you're just in a kirtan and you're participating, even if you're not wholly there, you're going to feel the power of it, because it's that's why it's so wonderful, because an ordinary person just come into the kirtan, if they're a little open to it, receptive, then they can feel something. There's something that's wonderful about this. And it's something I haven't experienced before. Let me investigate it. Let me find out more. So yes, the mood, as Kunti says, to call out to Krishna helplessly, and so that's why we have this Shikshastika, which I'm going to get into in a minute, right after you, and that is Trinadapi Sunichena. Here's the prescription, and we can try to be in that mood. Trinadapi Sunichena Tora Apisahishna Manina Manarena Kirtani Exadahari. So, more humble than a blade of grass, more tolerant than a tree, to think all praise belongs to others, none belongs to me, such qualities attract the Lord to bless one with the power to chant his name incessantly until the final hour. So the idea is that we have to recognize our actual position. So much of what we've read in the Bhagavad Gita, we're servants of Krishna. If we don't recognize that and we try to dominate material nature, we'll just suffer. Material nature is way more powerful than we are. We're thinking, we're going to control nature. Now we say, maybe we can. What was I reading? Oh yeah, they're going to freeze the Arctic, somehow. Give me a break, We don't have the power to do that, but we think we do. This is the problem. So I'm helpless. I treat it and tolerant. Tolerant means mostly of insults and things like that, but also of physical things as far as possible. Taror api sahishnana. And not wanting praise. This is exactly opposite to the material mood, isn't it? I'm the controller. I can do it, And someone insults me, come on, are you kidding me? So that's exactly the opposite mood. So then in that mood, one can chant calling out from the bottom of one's heart. That's the mood. That's what Kunti's prayer is saying. If you're claiming this is mine, I have this power, so many things. I am not a kinchana. I'm kinchana. Then you can still chant, but it's not from the heart. The whole thing depends on the mood that you're engaging in. But as well, the application of the mind to focus. Just like these verses or these purports, you can approach them in so many ways. You can read them, you can take notes, you can say, I really want to understand this, so I can explain it, I can understand it in my mind. So the application, just like you go into school, you can either party all day and, flunk, or you can say, yeah, I really want to go there. But if it's mundane, then you're just not going to help. But the attention coupled with the mood, they're both important, Okay, one quick question, Cambria? Okay, just speak into the mic. And then we're going to hear the Shikshastika.
Hare Krishna.
You have to speak loud because the mic is... leave the mic on because you can see it outside.
Hare Krishna. Well,
okay.
My question is that I find it in every temple there's only... not trying to be, I don't know. Why is there... See, I'm Indian too. I'm mixed with... I'm Mongolian, Chinese, Black, Creole, and Spanish, and Indian. A lot of Indian. But the thing is, saddest thing that I always see in every temple, every Hare Krishna temple, there's only white monks, gurus. And I'm gonna be real. It has to come out. It feels like, as a black and brown individual, my people never get to own our temples. It always gets owned by the government
have
or
you
white
been around the world?
monks.
We have temples all over in
Yes,
Africa.
but it's always
no, it's not
the
always.
white man.
No, you're not. You're wrong. We can talk about it later. That's just not
Okay.
correct.
Thank you.
All right, we're gonna hear the Shikshastika now. This is the important verses written by Lord Chaitanya himself. The first one goes like this. You can sing along if you know. Cheto darpanamarjanam bhavamahadavagni nirvapanam Shreya kaidava chandikava tadanam vidyavadhu jivanam Anandam buddhivardhanam pratipadam purnamita swadanam Sarvatmasnapadam param vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. All glories to the chanting of Shri Krishna's holy names, which easily extinguishes samsara's blazing flames by polishing the lust-encrusted mirror of the heart. That chanting is the waxing moon that knows the secret art of causing the white lotus of good fortune to unfurl its petals far and wide throughout this bleak and blighted world. Of transcendental knowledge, which will take us to life's goal, the chanting of the name of Krishna is the life and soul. The ocean of ecstatic bliss floods far beyond its bounds wherever Krishna's merciful and mystic name resounds. Indeed, whenever Krishna's names are sung in congregation, at every step one tastes a joy that knows no limitation. So hear with great attention as I earnestly request, please chant Shri Krishna's holy names and be supremely blessed. The soothing nectar of the name will bathe your consciousness, bestow pure love for Krishna, and eradicate distress. But Lord Chaitanya then laments. He takes the role of someone who doesn't have a taste for the name. And he says, Nam nam akadi bahudani jasarva shaktis tatrapitani amitak smaranena kalaha etadrishi tava kripa bhagavan mamapi durdaivami dushamahajani anuraga. Krishna, Govinda, and Keshava too, your names have no end, and in each of them you have invested your potencies, leaving none out. Whenever we want, we can chant them without the slightest restriction of time or of place. O Lord, who can fathom your infinite grace? Yet I am so wretched, devoid of all shame, that I haven't developed a taste for your name. So how to get the taste? Next verse, key verse. Trinadapi sunichena, tarorapi sahishnuna, amanina manadena, kirtaniyak sadaharihi. Again, more humble than a blade of grass, more tolerant than a tree. To think all praise belongs to others, none belongs to me. Such qualities attract the Lord to bless one with the power to chant His name incessantly until the final hour. Now, what is He praying for? What should we pray for when we chant? Lord Chaitanya teaches, Nadanang nadanang nasundarim kapitang vajagadisha kamaye mama janmani janmani shwade bhavata bhaktidahai tuki twahi. Wealth and women followers, the fruits of mundane piety, liberation from this world of limitless anxiety. For me, O Lord, these common goals have not the slightest worth. Let me serve you purely now and in each future birth. So then what is he really praying for? This is what he's basically saying what he's not praying for. And said, Ainandatanuja kinkadam patitam ma vishame bhavambodo kripayata papada pankaja satadhuli sadrishang vichintaya. Your servant for eternity, I lost my true identity and fell into this horrid sea of birth and death, O Lord. O Nanda's son, please hear my plea. By your sweet grace, consider me a speck of dust upon your lotus feet forevermore. Then he's asking now for become ecstatic symptoms. Nayanangadadashudadaya badanangadgadadudhayagara pulaka nichatang vapukadata banama gahane bhavishyati. Tears streaming from my eyes, my voice choked with bliss, the hair upon my body standing up in happiness. When will all these signs of rapture decorate my limbs as I chant your holy name, the monarch of all hymns? Now this is Lord Chaitanya in the mood of Radharani now speaking in the final two verses. Yugahitam nameshena chakshusha prabhishahitam shunyahitam jagatsarvam govinda vinahena me. Every moment drags on like 1,000,000 years or more. From the rain clouds of my eyes, the tears in torrents pour. This whole creation is nothing but a vast and joyless void. Oh Govinda, by your absence I am being destroyed. And then finally this intimate prayer of Srimati Radharani. Ashlishyava paradatam pinashtamama darshanan marmahatang karotu va. Yatatata vabadadhatu lampato mat prananatas tu sehevanapara. Let Madhava embrace this maid who's fallen at his feet, or let him trample me or my most ardent hopes defeat by never giving me a chance to see him anywhere, thus shattering my heart and plunging me into despair. You see, he is a restless libertine and not a saint, so let him act in any way he likes without restraint. Yet though his cruel and crooked ways may cause me constant woe, Krishna is the only Lord my heart shall ever know. And now that's the final verse, and then Krishna's Kaviraj has written what we call a Palashruti, the benefits of chanting. It says, these 8 essential verses Lord Chaitanya wrote to teach the practice and the goal of chanting Krishna's holy name. Day by day, whoever sings this hymn will surely reach a little closer to perfection, spotless Krishna prema. Now, I did this 17 years ago, 2005, in Mayapur, and it's in YouTube. I didn't know it was being recorded. I did not put it up on YouTube. But there it is. Have you ever heard of Vyasaki? Vyasaki was my sideman. He is a famous Kirtaniya. Indra was right behind me. Satyanandan Swami, he was there. Listen, Radhanath Swami was back there. And I was pretty nervous because these are all the basic leaders of and there were all the devotees in the audience. In between I would do a little kirtan and they started dancing and everything. So it was pretty ecstatic, and it was recorded, and it's been up there. If you just search on YouTube, Dravida space Mayapur, without the A at the end, you'll see.
Probably has millions of
Yeah, I think I may have it 20,000 if I'm lucky. That's like over 17 years, It's not viral. It's not viral. But maybe you can make it viral, Yeah. All get on there and then recommend it to your friends, see what happens. Okay, well, we have a little more time. How about, if there are no questions or comments?
Yeah, one thing.
Go ahead. Oh, we put it away. Oh, we have another one. Okay, anyway.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Bol.
So, why it is that when we do kirtan or when we say Krishna's name, we have different experiences than we don't? Like, okay. Let me repeat again.
Yeah.
When we do kirtan, or when we chant, or when we talk about Krishna pastimes, right?
Yes.
We have different experiences. We feel the bliss. We feel the joy.
You mean different from other times when we're doing it, or different from other people?
Different from other times when, let's say, I'm playing, I'm bike riding, I'm traveling.
Yes.
Or when I'm not in that mood, right?
Yes.
When I'm talking about Krishna, chanting, being in the temple situation.
Yeah.
I feel His presence. I feel His mercy. But when I'm not doing this, I don't. Why don't I feel this 24/7?
Right. Maybe you're not a pure devotee yet. Just guessing. The whole, ultimately it all comes down to the state of your consciousness and your mind. It's the mind. When we're absorbed in other things, or other things are impinging on us, and we're thinking about them, then we can do bhajan. But there's a distraction element. We're not getting we're not fully absorbed in thought of Krishna. That's the key. Chapter 6 is all about dhyana yoga, but there's a lot of important instructions in there. And that idea of absorbing the mind completely in the object of meditation, that's what it counts. Now great devotees, they don't have to be sitting and just doing japa. Even when they're talking to others, or they're planning how to start a temple, and even dealing with builders or whatever, it seems like a mundane, but it's all for Krishna. In other words, whatever they're doing, there's a beautiful verse. Bhagavatam is so rich and instructive. In the 11th canto, there's the 9 yogendras, the 9 exalted sons, most exalted sons of of Rishabdev. So they're great sages. They travel around the universe and they teach. And in one of those teachings, he says, here's the ideal form of state of consciousness. Kayena vacha manasendriyava buddhyatmanava nusasasvabhavad kadodi yadyat sakalam padasmai narayanayeti samarpayetam. Is that whatever we do with our body, with our senses, with our mind, with our intelligence, with our consciousness, with everything we have, we should feel, Narayan, I'm doing this for you. This is a sacrifice. Just like Yat Karoshi Yadashnasi, that's a verse in the Gita, but this is like expansion of it. And we saw that with Prabhupada. He's picking up the phone to call a lawyer or something, But every moment that he's picking up that phone and when he's speaking, he's conscious of that being in the service of Krishna. And so he's thinking of Krishna as his form, his personality. And he's getting inspiration from Krishna. So that's the reason why, because we're splayed out. We get absorbed, we may completely forget about Krishna. We're chanting around, but we're thinking that person insulted me, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. I'll get back at that devotee someday. Whatever. Maybe not so gross, But whatever, a mind can be all over the place. So that's the goal of strict sadhana, to gradually, progressively mold a life so that at every moment you can be thinking of Krishna. That you're actually living every moment.
Basically, training the mind
to
not bother us and make us like more conscious towards.
Yeah, I'll tell you in my own personal experience, and now it's getting a little late. And that is that the copious prayers and verses that we have, the Sanskrit, there's one verse I'll just give you. You probably heard me do it before, but it's ever fresh. Urari kutamodadi dutabangam, navajadadikidano sadangam, yuvati vadaya dutamananatadangam, pranamatiyamana tatikitadangam. Now, the sound itself is beautiful, but it's the meaning. You take the trouble to learn the meaning, and so the meaning is coming out and filling your mind with these thoughts. So what does it mean? So therefore, because it's some work, I took trouble to put it into a poem. His flute emanates entrancing sounds for the cowherd girls whose love abounds, for the clever cloud-complexioned lord who's dancing upon the Kalindi shore. Now that's our own language, and if you go over it a couple of times, you'll get to see the picture. He's dancing on the bank of the Yamuna, playing that flute, and the gopis are over there listening, they're becoming attracted. Just that one verse. So the point is that all of this is helping our intellect to think, think about Krishna. The Bhagavad Gita is so important. And when we actually realize this difficult chanting, these are the words of Krishna, the very words, Aham, Atma, Guda, Kesha. And if you study the word by words, then it helps the mind to become absorbed. It helps to become absorbed. And so that's one way. And then when it comes time to chant Hare Krishna, so much of that you can be remembering. And I'm sorry, we have run out of time because the curtains are going to open. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hari Hari Bol.